guys, good morning. It's RG here. Happy Monday and welcome to our free workshop today, our free class. I hope you've all had the opportunity to pick up your free digital file. And remember guys, if you have not had the opportunity to do that, you can pick up your Bloom Anyway free digi-stamps in a variety of different formats. It comes in an SVG, in a JPEG, in a PDF. It also comes in an outlined PDF if you have a scan and cut and want to be able to cut out your images that way as well. We have outlined it for you, and they all come in a bundle. So you basically just download that zipped file and you can choose which file works best for you. You can find that on our website at rgavenue.com under events, and then you'll find a Bloom Anyway free online class. Simply click on that, add that to your cart, and as you check out, it will email you the digital files. So thanks again, guys, for joining us today. How is everybody doing? I hope that you're all hanging in there during these times of transition. I think the biggest thing that I can say to everybody, guys, is pay attention. Try to listen to the instructions that we're given. Stay home. A lot of people are still not necessarily trusting the call, and they, I think it just has a little bit to do with our sense of entitlement sometimes, especially here in the U.S., where we're like, oh, well, I'm not going to stay home, or everybody's fine, I'm fine, everyone's healthy. Guys, let's listen so that we can protect each other and ultimately still be able to have a spring. If we follow along and pay attention, we might still be able to catch some of spring left, where things are actually open and we actually feel safe and comfortable being out and about. So thanks again for joining us, guys. If it's your first time attending any RG Avenue class, then welcome. We're excited that you're here. We actually do host a lot of free classes. Clearly, they don't all typically come with a free digital download or free stamp, but if it works out, it's probably something we can visit and do on a monthly basis if you guys are interested in something like that. But we do teach a lot of free classes on our Facebook channel. We are typically on Facebook twice a week with free education. So feel free to join us for any of that. Every Tuesday and Thursday, we are live on our Facebook channel. And there's tons of education on our Facebook channel now if you want to go back and revisit some of those older videos. Super fun. And again, I think very technique-based, tutorial-based. This one's going to be slightly different because we're really doing everything from scratch. So if you've never actually paper crafted before, you'll get to see how we kind of start by cutting our cardstock and how we go about. Everybody does it a little bit differently. I'm going to tell you, I am the worst at directions. Like, I don't necessarily read directions and or follow them. So I kind of wing it and go off my own, but you'll get to see how I do my cards and how I prepare or design for them. And then of course, eventually directions do have to be sent out, like for, things like that. But how's everybody doing?
So good morning, everybody. Yes, we do have Andrea and Kathy.
Hi, Zuckerman.
Joe joined us.
Joe.
Ms. Gail.
Hi, Miss Gail.
Linda Gorman.
Hi, Linda.
And I do see a few new names on here.
Welcome, guys.
So
Thanks
welcome.
for joining us. I hope everybody's staying calm. I hope everybody's staying positive. I hope that you find joy in the time at home and that you find peace within all of it so that you're not constantly overwhelmed or concerned or nervous or even fearful. I think it's our responsibility to ourselves and to the God that we serve to just stay positive and stay optimistic and trust in His process. So for sure. Thanks again for joining us, by the way. I hope you guys all get... Now, I know many of you guys like to watch the first time around, and that's perfectly fine. Unfortunately, because I am going to do everything from scratch, it might just seem a little long-winded. But But like I said, join us for the chit chat. Connect with the rest of our community online. They're an amazing source. They're an amazing inspiration, and they are absolutely family with each and every one of us. So there's nothing that they don't know for the most part about our stuff or the way we teach or the way we do or the way we just chit chat on and forever and ever and ever and ever and ever.
So we have Gail. She says where she's at, it's cold and rainy, so it's a perfect day for crafting. Let's see. We have somebody says God is good, beautiful here in Spokane.
Wow, Spokane, Washington.
And Christine says hello from Happy Valley Road in Phoenix.
Hi, Happy Valley Road.
Thank you for giving
Oh,
us
you're our
some
neighbor.
peace, yes, and creativity I shared with my Texas and Florida sisters.
Christine,
Cool.
You're like literally our neighbor. We're off of
Literally.
Happy Valley Road. Come on down, come craft with me. Oh wait, we're in quarantine. But yes. So
Kind of
absolutely.
forget about that, right?
Thanks,
That we're
guys.
kind of
Thanks
in
for joining
quarantine
us.
here.
All right, so let's get started because it's going to take us a little minute.
Okay.
Let's switch over to our top view. So this is what we're working with today. It is a fun digital file. Now I'm going to be 100% honest with you guys. I basically use just the PDF. I know a lot of you guys are absolute digital experts and like to resize and rescope and color, digitally color and all that jazz. I am not that good at all that stuff. So plus I really love a little bit of old school paper crafting. And so I'm actually I just print this out as a PDF. Now, if Elaine is on here, we have mailed out Elaine, right?
Yes.
Mailed out your copies. I know you are unable to print at the moment. So we just mailed you out 3 of these sheets so that when you catch the replay, you'll be able to recreate them with us. And I hope that you enjoy that. So I'm going to be using Copics, but you can use anything you'd like for your coloring preferences. My original ones were colored by Shell Bell, but she is not here today because she had some things to take care of. So I am going to do my best. Now, again, if you are new to me, guys, I am not going to be your coloring teacher. I love to add a little bit of color to my images, but I am not the psycho killer guy. Like, I'm not going to be the one who is going to teach you guys coloring. I have a bunch of amazing designers within our group and our team who just love to color. And they just go to town. I love to just add a splash of color. I think that most of the time I just go in there and I just play with the various different images. And so I just love them to coordinate. So I'm using Copics, but of course you can use anything you prefer.
Oh, welcome. We have Margie. She's new here, and she's looking forward to learning from you.
Hi, Margie. Welcome. Thanks for joining us today on this beautiful Monday, actually. Especially, we are in Arizona. Since you guys are new and you might not know, but we're in Arizona.
And do you have to have a special printer and ink to print digital?
What I will say is don't use a laser. Is it laser printer?
Yeah, the laser.
Don't use you can use a laser if you're not using alcohol markers. The problem is if you use alcohol markers, it's going to bleed your ink.
Okay.
A regular inkjet printer will do the trick. At least it has for me. What we have is a pretty old Canon, right?
Yes. We have Irene from Texas.
Hi, Irene. Thanks for joining us. Guys, this is the part that to me sometimes seems a little long-winded. It might not to you though, and if it does, I do apologize. But of course, we need to color all of our images, and I didn't want it to be a class where I had everything preset. I wanted it to be like pretty raw. And especially because in the event that we have some new crafters who have never done this before, we want to let them know, really give them the full experience of the process, right? For you guys, most of you guys are experts. You guys are either already colored, already done, already did, maybe have already even created all the projects, and I understand and appreciate that. But we also have to be mindful of new crafters who might not know all the ins and outs and bells and whistles. And I'm just adding a few strokes of color here.
So we have some of our folks here sharing what they use. Like Patricia, she says, I use an HP with the Instant Ink program and it works great. Ms. Gail, I use my regular HP printer and it works just fine.
Yeah, that's basically what we use, I think. We just have a Canon, a really old Canon. But that is what we use. And it works just fine. And we just print the PDF. I just print the PDF. Now, I do for them sometime. I do have a scan and cut, a Brother Scan and Cut, which is why we created the outline version. So if you're not familiar with our digital files, there's also an outline version for these. So it makes it so easy to cut. Just here in the studio, I don't always have a whole lot of room. And so I have to be a little bit more mindful of the spacing that I have. So I'm actually going with purples and pinks for this color palette because the paper stock that I have are in kind of like the maroons, the purple, the pinks. So of course you're gonna just color depending on what color cardstock and or papers you have selected to work with. So it's just gonna vary on that. Like, what is it that you ultimately have? And it's okay. I ultimately, as long as you learn, I think, the folding techniques, the layering techniques, then you'll be able to recreate these a million times over in whatever color palette you want with whatever stamp set or digital file that you like to use. So I'm adding color here, guys.
We have our very own Carrie Urbach here.
Hey, Carrie. Carrie Urbach is on here. She is one of our most talented designers. She is also our DT coordinator. So she manages our design team, keeps everybody inspired and moving.
Yes, absolutely. And she loves the mix of purples you're using.
Yeah, I'm just going rogue, as I typically do, especially with coloring, because it's not something that I feel is my strong suit, mainly because I don't, which is why I probably stamp, right? Because I don't have a whole lot of patience for the coloring part of it. I just love to get into the mix of creating the project and sometimes fail to just have the patience for the coloring portion of it.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Adam. Another one of our amazing, talented designers. Adam is on here. Thanks for joining us. You see us sharing their beautiful projects on our social channels, whether it's Instagram, whether it's Facebook. But truly, guys, if you are not part of our Facebook group, then you should join us. We do free tutorials all the time. But I do love the idea of having a free class. I think that's cool. Like maybe on a monthly basis, just for, times are different right now, and we definitely want to make sure that everybody has access to.
Yay, Ruby. I'm so glad that you were able to get logged in and got what you wanted. Yay.
Was she lost?
Yeah, just from ordering.
Yeah. Oh, yay.
Let's see. What did I miss here? Oh, what did I see here that said something funny? Oh, where did it go?
Okay, so we're just adding some color here, guys. I promise I'll try to be a little bit faster. I know.
Margie says, you're making coloring look easy, not so scared to try.
Oh, I'm not the colorer guy. That is not me. I wish I was sometimes. I feel like, gosh, there's so many talented people, but for me, I'm not, it's not my
It's not your thing to color, but you're
biggest
doing an
joy.
awesome job. And we have our sis on here just joined us. Hey,
Hey,
sis.
sis.
This is Jen. Let's see, Cindy Becker. I love that you don't have to be a pro at coloring. Always
Yeah,
turns out great, she says.
I'm the person who's gonna not care as much about the coloring portion of it. I believe as long as my colors are coordinated and they look good with my paper stock all the way around, then I'm gonna love that. And I also tend to add quite a few bells and whistles, and I just want to make sure, just blending some of that in the center. And I can zoom in a little bit here shortly if you guys need me to. But again, I think it's just such a cool piece to be able to do.
Elaine made it. Yay.
Hey, Elaine, welcome. Oh, is that Elaine? Elaine?
Yes.
Okay, so Elaine, we just talked about you here a little bit earlier. I know you don't have access to a printer at home, so we did mail you out 3 sheets of these because you'll need a couple for the leaves. So I know you don't have them with you today, but I'm hoping that you will get them shortly and that you'll be able to recreate these projects once you catch the replay. But thanks for joining us today.
Now Donna's asking for colors. Are the colors listed somewhere?
Now, the colors, I didn't list the colors because, of course, you have to work with whatever color cardstock you actually have. And so I wanted to be mindful of that. So I realized that you're going to be using your own printed stock or whatever color cardstock you're using as your base. And I'm going to cover that here in a little bit.
Just kind of basically use whatever colors you can coordinate with.
Yeah, so you're using the colors that are going to coordinate best with your paper, with the cardstock that you decided to go with. So whatever you prefer. I'm using more purples and pinks and maroons because I wanted to coordinate with my paper. And I'm going to show you my paper here in just a second. I just want to. And again, a fun little fact, guys. It's not that I don't like to color. It's that I think sometimes it takes so much time. And when we're doing a live, I try to be mindful of everybody's time. And I don't want to lose your interest while I'm here busy coloring away. And so
Donna, she says, but I have to be twinsies. Meaning she wants to do the projects exactly.
We'll definitely share the colors that I'm using for this for sure. We'll share them, but just wanted to be mindful of the colors that you might have at home. All right, so we're just adding some yellows here to the centers, and I'm going to come back with some greens.
I did see here we have Abigail. I hope I'm saying that right. Abigail Rafael. He is from Israel.
Hi, Abigail.
Abigail.
Abigail. How do we pronounce your name? So we don't mess it up. Butcher it.
And Elaine says, I wouldn't miss it. Thank you so much. Love you guys.
Thanks again, guys. Thanks for joining us. All right. I promise we're going to get through the coloring process here shortly. All right. So everything's been colored for the most part. Again, what we're creating is we're creating 4 cards that are interactive, okay? So what I mean by that is, for example, this is a gatefold card that will fit into an A2 size envelope, but when you open it, it actually stands on its own. So it's kind of cool if any occasion you can imagine. This one's kind of cool too. I'm going to show you the cutting and the scoring to just create that little flap card. And I'm cutting everything from scratch, so guys, bear with me. It's not like anything I normally do. The reason why I'm doing it this way is in case we do have new crafters on here, we want to make sure. I'm going to lighten up the camera a little bit just so that you guys can see a little bit better. All right, so this is another one we're creating today. Again, some squares, die cuts, as well as it's kind of like a fun interactive card. The way that I created, you've got your sentiment in the center, but I made it so that you kind of tuck in that flap over. And it's just fun, right? It's just fun and different. And same thing with this one. Actually, this one was inspired by this one. That again, you've got your designs, you've got your blooms, your flowers, and then we're just gonna open that up for our amazing Better Days Ahead message on the center. And you also have some journaling time. And it tucks in right in between my diamonds for that cut. Now, if you don't have the diamond dice at home, you can use any shape that you do have, or you can just cut it a square. You can also just cut out a square and just use a square and then, position it in make it large enough that it fits. Ultimately, what I wanted to do was use my diamonds so that I can continue that formation and make this fun, cool looking card. So we're gonna jump in to talking a little bit more about our process, okay? So we've got these all colored now. We're going to cut them out. We are going to need additional leaves to be able to add to every project. So I'm going to let Ms. G, who's in here in the studio with me, just help me color a few more leaves here, as well as then we're going to start cutting out the pieces that we need as we get them. Yeah, just with the one. And then again, we'll make sure we give you the colors that I chose. And again, the reason why I chose those colors is because the paper stock that I found was this color. And I just found these in my craft room. They all kind of coordinate and are kind of cool. I love the metallic tones. This one's pretty old paper, so don't ask me where I got it from because God only knows. As a matter of fact, it's not even double-sided. It's like single-sided paper that I just had laying around in my craft room. But it all coordinates and I love it. It's just really old printed stock. For my cardstock, I'm going to be using some of my sour guava. I'm also going to use some rich tangerine, some sweet cane, rich honey, and of course, some buttercream. And the reason why I chose buttercream is because that's what coordinates with the printed stock that I found. So whatever printed stock you guys found, whatever you guys have at home laying around, and then you guys can make that all work, it's just a perfect match and the perfect fit. Got it?
Got it.
All right. So we're gonna set the printed stock aside. We're gonna first start with this card. And for this card, I used the base of sour guava. So let's go ahead. Oh, you know what? I left my paper trimmer in the craft room. Okay. Do you mind grabbing that from me, please?
Oh, you know what? Ta-da!
Ta-da! I was hoping to get a new blade.
Oh, okay. I'll get it.
Or just get me a blade for this one. It's fine. Because there was an extra one there, right? All right, so we're going to start here with this fun fold. It's just this super simple, easy, and we're gonna cut every layer, okay? So unlike we normally do, guys, I wanna make sure that, especially if we have some expert crafters on here or people who have been following our page for a while, we don't normally go everything from scratch. Typically, I'll have everything pre-cut. Side note, if you do have the scan and cut or a digital cutting machine, you probably have already cut these out all for you. I'm not gonna mention any names, Ben's mom, but and sis. But if you are old school like me, then you can certainly cut them out by hand, which is what I'm gonna do. What happened to my scissors though? They were here.
I know. They're on the other one.
Okay.
Can you take this out?
Yeah.
I should have taken this one out and I didn't.
All right, guys, so let's go ahead and get started here. I'm going to keep cutting these out here shortly. So we've got an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this at 5.5. So 5.5 is that cutting mark here. Okay, so 5.5. Let me just make sure. I'm going to remove this blade out of the way. Include my new one in here. Thank you. So 5.5 is going to give me 2 card fronts. Got a little bit of a sliver here. So 5.5 is going to give me 2 card fronts, okay? So I have 2 card fronts, and ultimately that's what I need for the foundation of this guy. So I've got my 5.5. It was an 8.5 by 11. I just cut it in half, which is at 5.5 inches. And now I've got 2, enough to make 2 cards if I wanted to. So we're going to set our paper trimmer aside. I'm going to bring in my scoring tool. Because this one's going to get scored a little differently, okay? So I'm going to bring it the horizontal way onto my paper trimmer. You can have your own paper trimmer, or you can use your paper trimmer if you don't have a scoring tool to score as well. And I want to score at 2 inches. And 3 1/8. So 2 inches, 3 1/8. I'm then going to turn this around and I'm going to score at 2 inches again. And 3 1/8. So same thing on both sides. Now I'm going to fold my scores to create that fold. Make sure you get a nice deep crease to keep your paper from moving. What's so great is that they meet exactly right in the middle, and you have your front card. So hopefully you see that. Yes. All right, so now what we want to do is we want to measure. So this guy here is slightly over 2 inches, and that's kind of how I cut my paper, guys. You know, I also use a ruler. Miss G's actually going to go grab one for me. But we're going to go ahead and cut this down by 5.5 first, because I'm going to use it for another project here shortly. So I have a card base, but I need 2 inches. And I'm going to go, so the full card length is 5.5, right? We know that. But I'm going to go here and create that layer for the top. So just shortly under. And of course you can decide what size borders you want. If you want them to be more prominent, if you want them to be smaller, if you don't want any borders, you want to just add the clear color of cardstock right on top, you can also do that. But I'm going to come back and I'm going to create an additional layer in our buttercream. So it's important to have cardstock in different colors, of course. So I like to start at 5.5 so that I have a full piece. So that was a 2. So now I'm going to go at 1 3/4 by 5. So that is going to give me the layer for my rich tangerine. So let's go ahead and adhere these two together. Now we definitely want this layer here. So this is 6 3/4. I'm sorry, this is 5 1/4. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our printed stock to get us to that size. And we just need to measure. So we're going to 1 3/4 to get 2 of those pieces out of our printed stock. And that should fit right on the sides. See that? So let's go ahead and adhere that. How's everyone doing? Now, here's the thing. Some of you guys are going to think I'm going too fast. Some of you guys think I'm going too slow. So just keep in mind, guys, this is going to stay recorded, and you can always come back and catch the replay at any moment. Okay, and then same thing with this guy. But it's going to go right in the center. And we're going to add our splattering and finishing touches at the end. But that just gives us the beautiful card foundation for now for us to be able to come back and embellish with all of our blooms and all of our flowers. We're going to go ahead and use this guy, both of these. This is how I use my digital files. I know it's a little old school, but what can I say? So we're going to use those two. I'm going to also use the little bud and a couple of these blooms. I mean flowers, leaves. Get it right. Well, we need to cut all these out as well. So I'm just going to cut these guys out real quick. How are we doing, guys? It's going to give you guys time to catch up too while I'm cutting out all my blooms. Again, if you have a digital cutting machine like the Cricut, the Silhouette, the Scan and Cut, you are able to cut all these guys out on those devices. I have scissors, so I do have the Scan and Cut. Just kidding. I just, because not everybody might have it, for my classes, I like to still go old school. I think my sis just said about the Sizzix Eclipse cutting machine, which is great. This is cool. I can kind of read your comments.
Yeah, I noticed that I was able to do that there for you. But in case, when you're talking, you might miss them.
Oh, thanks, Jenny. I'm glad that you got the outline for the scan and cut. Yes, so when I was gifted the scan and cut by a dear friend, and I realized that it wasn't finding it wasn't actually cutting right. And it's because it needs to have an outline. It needs to have a beginning and an end. And so that's when we decided to offer all of our digital files with a cut line. That's way back when, but it's been super easy because then you can just choose whether you want to cut inside the outline or not. So thanks again for using that, because sometimes we're like, does anybody actually use these? Now, we also used to offer all of our images in mini form, because we just resize them for everybody to use, but we stopped doing that because we realized that the people who are digi savvy can just recreate them in whatever size they want. But yeah.
I know somebody who was asking measurements for the pattern paper. I think Patricia did put the measurements on here.
Thanks, Patricia.
Let's see, paper on the 2 far sides, 1 3/4 and 5 1/4, right?
Yeah.
Or yeah.
But of course, guys, you guys have creative license. You can do whatever you guys want. You can decide to not put printed stock on the sides. You can decide to stamp the sides. Like anything, you have creative license. This is your project. I'm just laying down the foundation for it.
Thank you, Patricia, for stepping in and putting in the measurements on here for everybody.
You're
to
amazing.
See. Thank you. So helpful.
By Patricia, she means Ben's mom.
Ben's mom. Just not everybody knows her as Ben Mom here.
Oh yeah. So word of caution, guys: if you stick with me long enough, you'll probably and you are noticeably around, and that means that you've commented and you're constantly on here. Then you'll probably end up with a nickname at some point.
And it's in a good way.
In a good way.
In a good way.
Of course. All right, so we've got 4 pieces out here. I'm going to cut out my leaves. Hopefully I'm not boring anyone. But the good news is that you guys are all at home and that you are safe. Stay safe.
Most of our people are home. I do know that there's some of them on here that they are at work and they're kind of either watching us during their lunch break or just kind of hearing us while they're kind of working, just trying to get some inspiration. I think it was Christine Roy is one of them, that she's at work and listening. And then Fran says sneaking in a lunch hour for a quick RG fix.
Now, don't forget, guys, you can always catch the replay and create these projects at your own leisure when you do have time, especially if you are someone who has to be at work during this very interesting time. Then I completely understand. I'm going to go ahead and add some twine to this. I love using twine. If you have been around with me for a while, you know how much I love to use the twine. I think it just gives a nice, subtle, but gentle and fun feel. Not so overpowering. Sometimes ribbon, I think, can be a little overpowering. And so we're trying to not take away from our blooms and our pieces. So we're going to go ahead and grab some twine. I'm going to create a triple bow. One of the things I love about twine is that it's pretty manageable. So I like to stretch this guy out, make sure that it's, because obviously it's been in this spool. And I'm going to do a triple bow here. So just loop around 3 times. And I'm going to shrink that a little bit because it's a little wide. If you are not familiar with my triple bow, then probably I'm sure it's in one of my YouTube videos here.
Patricia says, "You are welcome. I have all this time on my hands since my cutting machine already did all for her." And Andrea, she's like, "Show off, Patricia." What a show off.
She's
And
so
Cindy
good
Becker,
at that.
she's like, "I've been here for years, just saying." And Joyce, she would like to know, how is your
Oh,
hand
because
doing?
she's ready for a nickname.
She's ready for
Ah,
nickname,
got
huh?
it.
Joyce would like to know how you're doing with your hand.
It's still very painful, unfortunately. And it doesn't look good. But I think that it is healing, I suppose. It's part of that process. But it doesn't, aesthetically look good. I basically have a hole in my hand, in my finger. I added a little bit of liquid glue and I added 2 foam squares to hold my ribbon in place. I just want to keep informing you guys of what I'm doing.
I was going to say, you added glue to your
I probably should have added glue to my hand. Maybe I would have kept my finger intact. So I want to make sure that I have both strands on each side. So I'm going to zoom in just a little bit, guys. I want to make sure that you guys can see a little bit more of what I'm doing. And I probably will have to zoom out again to make sure that you guys can see. All right, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to curl a little bit my paper just for some dimension. And I'm going to place my first bloom right on top of the 2 foam squares that are there. Okay? So when in doubt,
pop it out.
Pop it out. I'm going to pop out my additional blooms. Again, creating a gentle little curl because I don't like cards that look so flat. And so I prevent that at all costs. I'm going to bring in the bloom and just kind of tuck it here. And see how it looks like it's straight coming up from my paper. I love that. I don't like it looking flat. I feel like it, it needs a little bit of life. So we're gonna pop out.
Like you said, you like to bring paper to life. So
yeah, you're so right. I love it to have some sort of life, some sort of action. Same thing with my leaves. I'm just gonna create a gentle curl with my crease tool. You can use the side of your scissors if you don't have a crease tool. Just a little gentle curl.
Let's see, Nikki. Our Nikki is on here. She
Hi,
says
Nikki from
she's
Kinnicky.
actually sewing mask while watching. We had the supplies to make the cloth mask, and were asked to so we busted out sewing machines. Oh,
Very nice. Very nice, Nikki. So I'm adding my leaves to the sides and the pieces of I'm going to add one more over here.
From Beth, she says, "RG, you're doing great. Bringing us together is breaking up the monotony and being stuck at home. It's always fun to watch and learn from you. By the way, I've been around quite a while too."
Who was this again?
Beth.
Oh, thanks, guys. You guys are amazing.
They want nicknames.
All right, so check it out, guys. We are completely done with our first project. Not completely because we still have to come back and add our splattering and our dazzle. But it's just about layering and it's just about building. And it's absolutely gorgeous, right? Time to smile. So one of the things I love the most about this DigiFile is the sentiments are so very perfect for this bloom anyway kind of time in our lives, right? We have time to smile, focus on the positive, better days, never give up. And so I have enjoyed the last 2 years of my life just playing with digital files and bringing paper to life in a completely different way. Like, one of those things is like, oh, I know what I know, and I love what I do, but this has given me a new opportunity to just love paper all over again, and it's beautiful, and I love it, and I hope that whomever receives this card, it brings a smile to their face. Right? Time to smile. It is our time to smile, despite of whatever doesn't make sense around us. We are grateful for what we do have and what we do get to do. We get this opportunity. We have this opportunity. We are blessed to be able to transmit this show to your home, to your car, to your phone, to your wherever you might be. It just gives us that opportunity to share a piece of our heart with yours, and whatever space you're at and whatever it is you're doing. And that is a miracle in itself. It is a blessing in itself. And I'm very fortunate that I get to do it. I get to do it. I get to share it. I get to share my passion for this. And as a matter of fact, I announced this free class in the middle of me being incredibly busy trying to put things together for my home and have a variety of different things going on. But I said, I need to do something that's going to keep my creative community creating, that is not going to cost them anything other than some time. And hopefully some time at home. And I know that you guys have tons and tons and tons and tons and tons of supplies at home that you could use to bring these projects to life. And hopefully it makes you feel good. It gives you a sense of accomplishment. It gives you a sense of joy. And it allows you to reach out to those friends whom you probably can't see this minute because of the situation, and send them a smile. They're going to open this up and they're going to be like, oh, you made that? You made that? So always feels so good. So let's go back to work. Sorry about the
okay,
chit chatter.
Everybody's saying it's so beautiful, stunning card, very, very pretty. Thank you for making this free class available. Feeling very blessed, RG.
Thank you, guys. All right, so we're going to switch over to our second project. Now, remember, we're going to come back at the end and we're going to splatter everything and we're going to make it all beautiful and sparkly and gorgeous. But it's just a great, great start to the morning. How's everybody doing? I'm glad that you love the colors, guys. I'm reading some of your comments now, because I get a chance to do that. Yes, thank you so much, Sandra. Thanks so much, Linda, for joining us. Deborah, Daniels, thanks, Debbie, for joining us here. I'm just reading. Gary, thank you so much for joining us. Bernice, Carrie, of course, as per usual, always such an amazing inspiration. And thanks, guys. All right, we're going to go ahead and switch over to our second project. It's a little bit tricky just when it comes to the scoring tools or the scoring directions. But let me just clean out my, that's the one thing for me is that I'm the worst, messiest crafter in the world, probably. Like, I always make the biggest mess in the world, and then I can never find not even my scissors.
I think a lot of us can associate with that.
I'm
right?
like, where are my scissors?
When you're creating, you create this chaos, and then you're like, wait, I just had this here. Where is it? Oh, it's under this, or it's under here. So it makes it fun. And of course, if you have a mess, that's that you're having fun, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All right, guys. So pretty cleaned up here. I'm actually going to remove this one because I hate that you guys have to see that.
Miss Gail, she says, I'm way behind as usual. I love that I can watch the replay.
Yeah, don't worry about it, Miss Gail, because we have forever. You can always go back, catch the replay. But thank you guys again for joining me for this one. And I hope that the directions were as clean as mud, as clear as mud. But again, a huge shout out to Ben's mom for jumping in and listing down the measurements. You can also, don't forget to like us on Facebook and on Instagram, guys, because we have the most amazing community. As a matter of fact, we also have the RG Avenue community page. What is it called? RG Avenue Community. There's a challenge, a monthly challenge that my sis Jen puts up now. It was originally done by Linda Gorman, who did a beautiful job at keeping our community inspired. But she's taking a little time off, and Ms.
Or how about
Jen,
the girls, Jen, if you can
oh yeah,
put in the
if
chat
you,
what's the
sis,
name
if
of the
you
group?
want to
Yeah.
put the information to the page, you can always just visit. They do a monthly challenge. I have the most amazing creative community in the whole wide world, so I'm super blessed
Now
because
Jenny's
of that.
asking, where would you write on this card?
Yeah,
Card. So where
I
you
would write on the back. So you know, remember this card is closed this way on the back, and your sentiment can just filter within this space. Now, if you've got a lot to say, simply write it all down before you fold it all up. Would be my recommendation. Because remember, you got some space here, and then you can just fit this all together. And I believe, if I remember correctly, this fits a gift card. Obviously not in its sleeve, but you would just kind of slide it in there. And so when somebody opens it, if you want to send me a gift, if you want to send someone a gift, you can always do that way. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to go ahead and jump on over to our next project here. Let's go ahead and grab a different color cardstock, or you don't have to. I'm just saying I'm going to grab a different color cardstock. I'm going to grab some sweet cane. We're now going to create our little flap card. We're going to call him Flapper. He's like a little flap card. Super easy to make, and all with one piece of cardstock for our foundation. So what we're going to do here is we're going to bring in our paper trimmer once more. Just grab your paper trimmer. We're going to cut this again at what measurement? It's a full 8.5 by 11, and we're going to bring this into 5.5. So 5.5. Again, that gives us enough for 2 cards if you wanted to create 2 cards. I'm going to move my paper trimmer out of the way. And I'm going to bring in my score tool, okay? I'm going to first fold this in half. Now this one's a good one because if you want to create a basic card, you would just bring this in and you would score at 4 1/4. That is your midway or your half fold for a regular size A2 size card. So again, 5.5 by 8.5. So 5.5 by 8.5. Let me zoom out a little bit here so you guys can see this full picture. I wish I had a camera that had a controller.
No, then that way I could be zooming in and out.
So
or
that
you could have been doing it too.
So that I'm not like, I have to keep getting on my step stool so I can reach the top camera. But okay, so 5.5 by 8.5. If I ever fall, it's because I missed the step stool, guys.
You're not going to fall.
Just definitely. And then I'm going to score at 4 1/4, and that creates that card. So you can, this is your foundation for any A2 size card, unless you go vertical, which I will be well, not for this particular set, but on my other cards, I do the vertical. Okay, got it? All right, so now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna keep my paper trimmer because I'm gonna bring this in and I am gonna score in 2 different places, okay? I am gonna score at, so again, if we have our card here, I'm gonna score at 1.5. Ready? Just on the top flap, which it doesn't matter at this particular moment which side. So again, what we want to create is we want to create this flap. So you could either come, depending on your score tool, but you could either come 1.5, turn it around, and then do 1.5 again on this side. But it's a lot easier if you stay with the 1.5 and then you come over to the 4-inch mark on the opposite side. Okay, so just make sure you create a nice little crease there. So 1.5 and the 4 inches. We've scored at 1.5 all the way to our center score and 4 inches just to our center score. Got that? All right, what we want to do now is we want to bring this back to our paper trimmer because we're going to cut those pieces out, okay? So we're going to come back to the 1.5 mark and we're going to cut all the way to that center score line. Okay. Now we want to cut to our cut. Cut that out. We're going to cut that little side out. We're going to do the same thing on the other side. To that center score line. We're going to bring this side in and cut right to that mark. So that leaves us with this piece. Got it? Both sides are exactly the same size, and we just basically cut those guys out. Easy peasy. Actually, we need to keep our paper trimmer because now we need to bring in our additional pieces. Now, I like to start with a firm foundation for the bottom base. So remember that piece of vanilla cream that we left out? So we just need to cut a card size front. So it's already 5.5 inches, but we're gonna bring it down to 4. And we're also gonna bring it to 5 1/4. So that is gonna fit right as my layer. Now we're gonna find that coordinating paper that we want to use. And it's at 4 inches, which is the same size of our paper right now, perfect. So we want it to be 4 inches by, what was the size of these again? It should be 1.5. So we're gonna go in there and bring those in at 1.5. So we need 2 pieces at 1.5. That is for the sides. The first thing we want to do is we want to go ahead and adhere our printed stock to the sides of our vanilla cream.
Elaine's asking, can't we just cut at 1/4 and 4 without scoring?
Yeah, you can. The reason why I scored first was in case some of you guys don't have a paper trimmer and you're cutting out by hand, then I'm just showing you how to create those lines so that you can cut straight. And some of you might need to see exactly where to cut versus, it's for some of us it's helpful. If you don't need to do that process, some of you guys are expert.
I'll say you're a pro.
If you guys are pros, you don't need it. But if you're just beginning, it might help keep you on the right track. The reason why I scored it first was just so that you can see where you're going to cut your lines. And it also sometimes helps create an indent on your paper so that it looks like a little bit smoother on the edges versus just a cut. But okay, so we've got this. We're going to go ahead and adhere this to our card base. And now we've got that flap. See that?
Elaine said, you think of everything.
Well, I want to make sure that everybody has a good, strong foundation for that piece. Now, what we want to do is we want to measure this guy a little bit just to know how much we've got. So this is 2.5 inches wide in the center by, of course, 5.5. 4 1/4. So we're going to grab a piece of our sour guava. And we're going to remember we had a leftover piece from the card base to create a layer. So we decided that was what, 2.5 again? 2.5. So since it's 2.5, we're going to go 2 1/4 by 4 inches. That's going to be that center layer right on the inside here. And of course, we need a piece of our vanilla cream. We're going to come down to about 3 3/4. And this one was 2 1/4, so we're going to bring this guy down to 2 inches. So here we have our perfect layers that are going to layer onto the center of our card. Okay, so let's go ahead and adhere those two together. Super simple. Now, as this guy comes up, we're ready to start our embellishing. So what we're going to do is Miss G has already done me an amazing favor at cutting these guys out for me because she's the bomb.com. So we've already cut out this bloom here. We've got a couple of leaves that we're going to be using, as well as this beautiful fresh bloom. And we're going to also add a bud to it, okay? But before we do that, we're going to go ahead and grab what? Some twine. Because I love the fluff that it creates. I'm going to do a double bow, not a triple this time, just a double.
Just a double. Here is your little bud.
Thank you. You're amazing.
Thank you.
And again, similar to what I did last time, is I'm going to fasten that knot down with 2 foam squares, 1 on each side. I'll come back and add a little dab of glue, wet glue. Just to make sure it stays in place.
Did you get a sentiment already? Or?
No, I need to never give up. Which is,
you already did the first one.
Yeah. All right, so I've got my big bloom here, and I'm just going to go ahead and add that right on top of those foam pieces. Again, managing a little bit the paper so it doesn't look so flat. I've got a little side bloom here that I'm going to just trim off the stem. I'm going to grab a foam square when in doubt.
Pop it out.
Pop it out. We're going to pop that out a little bit. We want that to pop up here. We're going to bring in an additional bloom. Just beautiful, showcasing a gorgeous, gorgeous design. And of course, we're going to just add our leaves. Bring that to life. How many people do we actually have with us this morning?
We have 47 viewers.
Thanks for joining us, guys. Check that out. It looks absolutely beautiful. Absolutely gorgeous. We just need to add our sentiment here. Trim off our excess twine. Although I personally love the fluff. And our sentiment, never give up. And so very true, especially now during this weird time. It's just an uncertain time, and I think it's a time where we need to just come together as a community and love each other virtually. And what an amazing platform, right? When we first thought up of the RG deals, I never imagined that it would at one point be our only
That's
way
what
of
you were getting ready for.
communicating. Yeah. So never give up. Absolutely beautiful card. I love the layout, and I love the interesting aspects of this card, right? Like, it's not your traditional card, and it just gives somebody that loves to receive cards or that you want to send this positive message to something fun to look forward to. It also almost works as an easel because it just helps stand, and of course you can always
So
add
Elaine
your
wants
message.
to know, since we do have a lot of new people on here today, why don't you go through making the double or triple bow just once, like step by step?
Yes, I can certainly do that.
And
If you would
Cindy,
like me to do
she's
that.
thankful that you're doing this for everyone.
No, thank you guys. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for making time for us today. And I hope that you're enjoying it. I hope that you're finding benefit to it. I hope that it's not just overly redundant and, silly, but that you're actually enjoying your time, yourself, and this space. And of course, this amazing community who's here for you and just wants to lift you up and inspire you to make amazing happen.
And Margie, one of our new viewers here, she says, thanks for showing us newcomers how to cut these cards.
Yeah, so I hope that is helpful because that was a little bit tricky because I was like, oh my gosh, I don't want to bore all my pros out there with, should I cut it? Should I, yes, we know how to cut paper, RG. And I realized that. We do have new people who maybe are learning about papercraft for the very first time. And it's always good to go back and review the basics. Like, how do we cut the paper? How do we get these straight cuts? Where do I even get started? And this is one of those amazing ways to get started because a lot of people might even have crayons at home or color pencils. And if you don't have inks, and if you don't have blocks, and if you don't have, cleaner, and if you don't have stamps, then to gather all those things at the beginning might be overwhelming. But with the opportunity to use a digital file that you can just print out and still be able to bring paper to life, that's amazing. That's amazing. And so, again, it's another one of those amazing opportunities that we have in the tip of our hands to be able to help somebody else be inspired and bring paper to life like we do. So thanks, guys, for joining us. And for those of you who are pros and have been doing this with me for a very long time, hang in there. This is to help our entire community just get started on finding themselves useful, finding themselves, like giving themselves a sense of accomplishment and that feeling like, you know what, I did this. And you can send out that, hug in the mail to your friends or family that you don't get to see as much anymore. Because right now it's important that you stay home. And it's important that they stay home. And it's important that they still feel loved and that you still feel like you're loving them.
Yes, for sure.
All right, so let's switch over to that top view.
And Elaine just wanted to add here that's never boring, or you never bored them. Bernice, another beautiful card. I thank you for doing the step-by-steps. Miss Gail, no matter how experienced, I'm always learning something new from you and the community. So
thank you, Miss Gail. We absolutely love and appreciate you for sure. All right, we're now going to go into some fun little fold type pieces. Now, can you believe we've already done two cards? What the heck? I hope that's been fun for you guys.
And two fun cards too, because you don't really see cards that often like that. You know, they're different. They're not your normal traditional cards.
For sure. Um,
So it brings out a little wow. If you are sending these cards to friends and family, I mean, it gives them a little like, wow, cool card. Love to receive this. So for sure. I know I would be excited. I would be like, ooh, this is cool.
yeah, it's so amazing. Okay, guys, the next one is going to be a little bit of folding. So don't despair. Don't be afraid. It's the easiest folding in the super wide world.
Super wide
I don't
world.
know why the wide world is super, but it's super fun in the super wide world. And so we're going to go ahead and switch over. We're going to switch over to this one. Some of you may have already created a card similar to this, if not exactly like it. My own little twist was the closure of adding the diamonds to this so that it tucks in between my diamond layers and closes my card. It's just a card front, and then you can add your messaging on the center. You can also add like, oh, I don't want it to show on the end, so I'm just gonna write in this little diamond shape. But it's totally up to you guys. There's no right or wrong. Are we ready?
You can always probably just cut another piece and hide what you wrote. I mean, I don't know. It's another idea.
Mm-hmm.
What? I'm giving you my ideas. I don't know.
All right. So let's go ahead and get started on this one. This one is basically just a card face or a card front, if you will. So what we're going to do is we cut out some of our rich tangerine already. So we have a 5.5 by 4 1/4. What we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and trim that down to 2 card fronts. We're going to bring back our paper trimmer. We're going to bring this into our paper trimmer 4 1/4. And we're going to just go ahead and create that cut. So we've got 2 card fronts. Basically, these pieces are 4 1/4 by 5.5. Just doesn't have the outside flap. Now, if you wanted to, and you wanted to actually create a card that opens, so basically it's now opening, you can always just leave the full card. So again, you have your full card, and this part just happens to do that. But I think it's kind of cool that the only thing that opens, so we don't confuse people anymore, is just the front. So super simple, easy peasy. Now we're going to create just a single layer of vanilla cream. So ultimately what we want is we want 5 1/4 by 4 inches, which is the inside layer of this card front. 5 1/4 by 4 inches. So now we have those perfect 2 layers that are really the foundation of this card. The next thing we want to do is we want to get the coordinated printed stock that we're going to use to add those triangle folds. So what I have is this beautiful, it's got a little bit of a metallic sheen, but whatever paper you have is fine. What we want to do is we want to create 2 pieces that are 4 inches, which is again the size or the width of our card layer. Okay, so 4 inches by 3 inches. Okay, so go ahead. We need it to be 4 by 3. So you need 2 pieces that are 4 by 3. One of the things that you want to keep in mind when you're using printed paper is, of course, that if your pattern has a right way. So for example, if you have words, or if you have flowers, or if you have something that has a direction, keep in mind that it's going to go up. Okay, so if you may not want to cut it 4 by 3 this way, because then when you bring that up, your design is going to go this way versus this way. So just keep in mind of the orientation of your print and how it's going to fold up. Okay, so 2 pieces that are 4 by 3. You've got 1 piece layer here that is 4 by 5 1/4, and then of course you've got your base piece, which is 5.5 by 4 1/4. Got it? So these are the pieces that you need in addition to your diamonds or whatever you're going to use to create that layer. But let's go ahead and get through this first, okay? So the first thing we want to do is we're going to bring these two pieces to our paper trimmer. And we're going to score at 1 inch. 1 inch score line. When I have printed paper like this, I like to score both in the front and in the back, okay? This might help prevent your paper from tearing a little bit, depending on the quality of your paper. Now, this one's probably not the best quality paper I've ever used, but still pretty enough for me to use. So I scored at 1 inches on both pieces. I've got a 1 inch fold, okay? Now that, we just want to fold that. And this paper is that, because it's got a white core, it's just gonna tear anyway. But if you score it on both sides, you can prevent a bigger tear. Same thing goes for regular cardstock. But this one's white core, so it's gonna want to do that. Okay, so we're gonna fold that score line, and then we have two pieces that are like that with a 1 inch score. Now what we want to do is we're gonna bring in the corners to that center score line. Okay, so bring that in and press your score, press your fold. Bring that in and press your fold.
So real quick, as you're doing that, Linda, she shares, your lives have gotten me back in my craft room. Not being able to get together with my crafting buddies brought me down, but I'm back.
I'm really so cool. Glad to hear that. Yes, that is the whole purpose of this this class today, is just get back in here and I also love Jenny's
idea. She says she's a teacher stuck at home, and I'm going to make cards to send to my students. Oh,
that's such an amazing idea, Jenny. I love it. And they would love to receive it, right? So they feel so special when they receive mail.
Right.
They're like, what? I got mail? Can you imagine how much good we would do if we just start sending mail to everybody? Like, hey guys, I know I can't physically hug you or meet with you or connect with you, but it's almost like God's giving us a reset and sending us back to the connection that we miss because we're so connected.
Right.
Is that weird?
That is weird.
So weird to say that, but we're totally missing the connection that we're missing because because everybody's so connected, virtually anyway. All right. So if you missed it, this is the 3x4. We're going to score at 1 inch on the 3 inch side, score at 1 inch coming down, and then you're going to fold these two up just to meet them in the center. And you're going to have this little side peak, little side mountain, okay? So you're going to score at, so that you've got a 3x4. So here, let me show you on my grid sheet. 3x4 inches, you're going to score on the 3 inch side 1 inch down, and then once you've created that score, you're simply going to fold these in to that first 1 inch score line. All right, how are we doing? Super easy. That's it. That's all there is to it. We're going to go ahead and adhere those flaps down. Create those creases. Super easy, super easy. All right, now we want to go ahead and adhere these 1 inch flaps to the top and bottom of our card layer. Make sure you're folding that in so that you're not under or over, just, layering, so that it just comes right to the edge of that score line. We're going to do the same thing to the other side. So again, I like to fold it in and just bring my cardstock right to that edge, because if you do it this way, you might come in too far, and then it just creates an additional fold that you don't need. You want to go straight to your score line or to your fold, and then just bring over. If for whatever reason you have a little extra sliver hanging out, just come back and trim it. No harm, no foul. You don't want anything to come off the sides because it'll just look wonky against your darker cardstock. All right, so we have our two flaps. Now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and layer this onto our card front or our base. I am also going to come back and add a little bit of score tape because I want to make sure that the layers don't allow everything to stick properly. So I'm adding a regular adhesive, and then I'm coming back with just a little bit of score tape. That's just my personal preference. It doesn't have to be. If you love your tape and you trust it and you believe that it won't come off, then whatever tape you're using is fine. I know some of you like to also use liquid tape. So whatever is your preference on your adhesive will do the trick. Now we want to layer this onto our rich tangerine. And make sure that adhesive is fastened. Ta-da! So now we have the easy peasy pieces that come out. Next thing we want to do is we want to add our pieces. So I need a piece of our guava as well as a piece of our vanilla cream. I'm going to cut 2 diamond shapes from my dies. Now if you don't have the diamond dies, you can use whatever shape you want as long as it's big enough to reach the 2 ends of your paper. So I'm going to grab my Big Shot real quick. My cut plates. And again, if you don't have a die cut machine, or you can always just cut out a square with your paper trimmer. There is definitely creative ways around this process. I'm just using my diamond dies because I think they're a perfect fit for this card. I'm just going to cut the 2 different layers. So I've got my 2 diamonds that fit perfectly like so. All right, when in doubt,
Pop it out.
We're gonna pop out our diamond. Now I'm only gonna add foam squares, and quite a few of them, to the top portion of my diamond, okay? Mainly because the bottom needs to be able to tuck in. If you remember correctly, that's part of one of the features to this project is that the flaps just tuck into that space. So then I'm going to come in and layer. See how perfectly that fits right over that space? So I'm going to bring in 2 foam squares, and I'm going to adhere them right in there. You know what? I'm going to bring 3. I want to make sure that it's nice and fastened. I'm going to start first by adhering those 3 pieces. Now the next part is this guy just tucks in right under there. See that? You can always come back and give it an additional crease. Make sure everything lays as flat as possible. Beautiful.
Beautiful fold.
So now it's time for us to bring it to life with our beautiful blooms.
What leaves do you use?
It's fine, yeah. We're actually gonna, let me grab some of these guys. I'm just using my blooms here, my flowers. We're gonna bring in some what?
Twine.
Some twine. How was that, guys? Was that hard?
Cindy says, awesome, not so scary. Beautiful paper. Love this card and the colors.
We're gonna do a double bow, and for the last card, I'll show you how to do the triple bow. In the event that you're brand new to us and you haven't learned this from me yet, I will show you. I will slow motion it for you so that you can become a triple bow expert. Just the same. I'm going to place 2 foam squares and hold down a little bit of liquid glue.
So let's see, Miss Elaine shared that she has 450 students, so keep in contact with them. So she keeps in contact with them digitally. Somebody asked what grade. Elaine says, I'm an elementary school librarian, so I teach reading comprehension, research skills, and of course library skills to grades 1 through 4th grade. Wow.
Wow, your hands are full.
Hands are full. What size are the large diamonds?
The largest diamond in this set is, well, what's the way to measure this? Actually, it's about 4 inches. So 4 inches. So it's 4 by 3 for the most part. Little bit under 3 inches actually. So maybe 4 by 2 3/4 is the largest size diamond in this.
And then Joe said, easy peasy lemon cheesy. And our sis, she said, wine? Did you say wine?
Did somebody say wine?
I know. Isn't it too early for wine, sis?
Sis.
Silly.
All right, so I'm going to bring in just different blooms here.
Beth says, I love it. You make it look so easy and fun. Love
Thanks,
this card.
guys. I'm so happy that you guys are enjoying this time that we get to share. I'm adding my blooms. I'm going to trim off my twine here. And now I'm going to do I always add my leaves last because I feel like they're fillers. And I can just go back in and fill any areas that need to be filled. I'm going to trim at the bottom of that leaf. And trim off the bottom of that leaf as well. Now we have our sentiment for this one called Better Days. And I'm going to go ahead and pop that out and place it right on the inside so that when they open this card, the sentiment on the inside says Better Days. So again, we simply open that up, fasten our project, and ta-da!
Ta-da! Another beautiful card. It's so amazing, that one.
Another beautiful card is complete.
I mean, they're all amazing.
It's fun, right? It's just different. And you know what's so crazy is I typically don't teach all of these. You know, we've done 3 cards so far. I try to stay away from like foldy classes and things like that because sometimes I think it's a little bit more stressful for my peeps. But the truth of the matter is why I chose to do that for a beginner's class. Very brave.
That means if you can do these, you can do any
Yeah,
card.
I guess I decided I would start you off with the hardest cards and then, no, I'm just kidding. And then I work our way through. 3 cards done, guys. Good job.
Gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous cards.
How's it going? Tell me, tell me. Guys, if you're absolutely loving our time together and you've actually found some benefit to it, whether it's in your craft space, whether it's just being able to chit chat with other creative individuals, whatever it might be, then please, by all means, help us out by sharing our channel, by sharing our story, by sharing our craft with your creative friends. I believe that the bigger our creative community gets, the more powerful and impactful it can become. And so you guys are a vital part of that share. And we're here to help you bring paper to life, and we're here to help you make amazing happen. But most importantly, we're here because we want to be a part of the community that you've created. We didn't create this community, you have. You're the ones who invite your friends, who make friends, who chit chat with friends. And it's the community that you've created that we love and want to be a part of. So we continue to get up here every week, every time. We continue to share projects. We continue to share free tutorials, free demos, free downloads, so that we can be a part of your community. So thank you so much for allowing us to be a part of your creative community, because you're the reason why we're here. So thank you so much for that.
For sure. And they are loving these cards. They're gorgeous. Carrie wanted to share that her sister just shared with her that in Virginia, the governor just closed the schools for the remainder of the school year. Oh my.
Wow.
I have heard that that's happening kind of everywhere. It hasn't happened here with us yet, but I don't doubt it. We're going to be next. I'd probably write on message on the back of this one too, maybe sign my name under the triangle.
Oh yeah, that would be so cute.
Let's see. Carrie says she was so gorgeous. Love the pinks and patterns. Of course, your gorgeous florals. My goodness, that's crazy. Oh, she's responding to the whole closure of the schools.
Yeah, so crazy.
Sandra, I posted just right now on Facebook because the show is still going. They can still jump in and play. Yep.
They can jump in and play, and they can always catch the replay too. Like once you guys are done creating your projects, share them.
And that's what Joe did
share
say.
What you
Joe
made.
did say on here. Beautiful thing is that you can rewind. So
you can always rewind once it's done. You can't rewind during the live, but once it's done, then you can always go back and rewind and redo and just share away. I hope that it brings you joy, guys. I hope that you're enjoying it. I hope that you're learning something different and something new and something fresh. We are very, very blessed individuals to get to live life the way that we do, and we mustn't take that for granted. We mustn't take that for granted. And this is a gift. This is really a gift. What we get to do. Some people say it's your hobby. It's your you're just passing time. I said, but it's more than that, because yes, it is a hobby, and yes, we do use it because we love it. But it also can actually brighten someone's day.
Absolutely.
It also can make somebody smile. It also can make somebody feel special. And if we can do that with what we love to do, then that's a blessing.
Always.
That's a gift.
Especially at during these times, but especially always, right? But especially during this time that everything's closing, like somebody just shared right here too, that As of midnight, they closed all the stores. The only ones that are open are essential ones. And that's kind of everywhere, even here too. Like all our restaurants are shut down. Can't go to social places. Can't go to the mall. So it's just more, going to the market, getting what you need, and that's kind of it. And of course, medicines and things like that. So.
100%. 100%. All right, we have one more card to go, guys. Does anybody have any questions for me before we jump on to the fourth card? How long has it been?
We are an hour and a half, so it's
wow,
11:30.
guys, how's it going? Talk to me. Tell me if I'm going too fast, if I'm going too slow. We really appreciate your time this morning, and we want nothing more than for you guys to feel loved and this sense of accomplishment of creating something new and something fresh and learning and enjoying each other's company, even if it is just virtual. I love just seeing the chat box go up and you guys just talk with each other about different things. Like, that's amazing. I have some amazing, I can't speak highly enough about my community. We have some strong rooted individuals here who have been with us through life's craziest things, who love our children, who love our family, who know about my mom, know about my dad, know about my brothers, know about my whole everything that happens in my life. So I'm always surrounded by family, especially in these type of spots. I feel very surrounded by family, and I tend to be a little bit chatty during chats. Oh, chatty during. I tend to be chatty during chats because I want to make sure that you're learning enough about us and enough about each other that you guys know how valuable you are within your space. There is no one else that can replace your craft in this space. And even though sometimes it feels like someone might not appreciate it as much as you appreciate it because you put so much love into creating that card or that gift or that 3D item, or maybe it's something like this. Like we taught this earlier. And maybe it was something like this where you're like, oh, but I put so much love into this and, it's just you're not gonna enjoy it as much. But the truth of the matter is that they will. And you got to make this. You got to create this. And it's a gift from the heart. And I just think it's always so special. I don't ever minimize how special your craft actually is. And if anything, at the end of the day, if it brought you joy to make, then that's enough.
That's enough. Absolutely.
Then that's enough. It took you into a creative space, into a place of accomplishment, into a place of fulfillment. I don't know about you, but when I actually create projects, I love to listen to music, whatever kind of music. Sometimes it's worship music, sometimes it's just pop music, sometimes it's Spanish music. I just love to go in there and I just like to feel like I'm being myself, and I see this and I'm like, how can I bring it to life? How can I bring this to life? And then out of a few hours in there, I come up with these cards. And so it's just an amazing time to yourself, right? Talk about self-love and self-care. To me, this is it. To me, this is self-love and self-care. And most importantly, if it can make a difference in the life of the people around me, then double win. Double win.
And I think I'm going to take the time to go in there and say hi.
Yeah, jump in, say hi.
People, and they're probably like, who's that voice in the back? So hi, I'm Gabby. So this is me talking in the background.
So that is the voice.
That is the voice.
The voice of reason behind the show.
And I know, Margie, you're new to us, and you were asking
Hi, Margie.
We're on Facebook. Yes, we are on Facebook.
We are on Facebook, RG Avenue on Facebook.
And on Tuesdays and Thursdays, because she was asking what days too.
Yeah, so. And typically Shell's here as well, or different team members too. We'll have Joe, my brother, who will show up, as well as my kids are sometimes. Definitely Axel's always in the lives.
Axel's our dog.
The barks that you hear.
So anyways, just so you can meet me.
All right, guys. So are we ready for the next card?
Yes, let's go. Let's see. Wait. Oh, Jen, are the stamps from the Spring Fling going to be available for those that didn't sign up? Yes, they will be available later on today. So yes, later on today they will be on the website.
Yeah, that is a G thing. That is a Ms. G thing.
That's my thing. So yes, I will make them available later this afternoon.
All right, let me know if you guys are ready for me to move on to the next.
I know some of you took a little potty break, which that's okay.
Potty break was fine. Just don't use too much toilet paper.
Talking about here about what, the Scotties or something.
Mm.
And now Carrie's like, I'm hungry. Oh, I guess Joe. Wow, Joe. He said, I love biscottis.
Joe's always on either some burrito or. All right, guys.
Love you guys too. Thanks, Bernice.
For our next project, we are going to use a rich tangerine card base. So similar to what we did with our other card, we're going to use with this card. Oh, that's not true. Just kidding. We need a full card sheet. Oh, can you get me another tangerine? Because I clearly oopsed it. But we do need a layer of our rich honey. So let me go ahead and cut this one at 5.5. And so this is going to be an inside layer. So we're going to go 4 by 5 1/4 because it's actually an inside layer. Now we need a layer of our vanilla. So we're going to do that one at 5 by 3 3/4. Got it. And we need that card base in the tangerine. So this one's going to be 5.5. Oh, I keep saying that, but it's not our card base. So let's go ahead and create the full card. So we need 2 pieces. So we basically need this foundation, okay? So this is going to go in here, ultimately creating our card. So this is the part that we're going to work on. Gets a little wonky. Again, I'm going to score before I cut, just in case you don't have access to that. Now, I'm also going to die cut a square out of my rich honey. Ooh, I have a rich honey.
Christine Scott says she also has a Gabby. She's a senior, class of 2020. Aww.
Yeah, I think if anything, I feel so saddened for all of our seniors this year because if in fact school is now canceled for the rest of the school year, then they're gonna
their events like
they have to cancel all their, last year. Their festivities for the end of their school year. So that's kind of saddening. Obviously, they're for good reasons, but still doesn't take away. Yes, they can always do a makeup, but it's still not exactly the same.
I know somebody did say, well, they'll have stories to tell to their kids.
Well, 100%, but I'm sure they would have rather. And so if you don't have die cuts, you can always just bring it into your paper trimmer and cut out squares. I'm just going to go 2 by 2 inch square here. So I just wanted to show you, like, if you don't have the die cut, you can just cut them out, especially if it's a square because it's so easy. So those are the ones we need. All right. So what we're going to do now is we're going to bring this guy into our score tool. This one's a little bit trickier because we're going to score at 2 1/2 on both sides, okay? So let me just make sure I'm correct on that. I'm sorry, not 2 1/2, 2 1/8 is what I meant to say. So 2 1/8 on both sides. So 2 1/8, and then turn that around, and then 2 1/8 again. And again, if you want to score on both sides, it actually helps with folding of that paper. And it just helps you create a better crease. And it's still an A2 size card, but this time it opens this way. Got it? So once we're done with it, we're going to bring in our layers to the inside of this. Make sense? All right, now we want to go 2.5 on one side and 3 inches on the other side. Notice how this one's 2.5, this one's 3 inches. So if you're a pro and you want to go into your paper trimmer, you can go ahead and do that. I'm just going to score at 2.5 on one flap and on the other flap at 3 inches. Now this is going to help guide those of you who, like, if you want to cut this with the scissors, you can just cut and cut and then cut and cut, okay? So one is at 3 inches and one is at 2.5. We want to keep, just make sure. So the top part is the one that I'm going to cut out at 2.5. Does that make sense what I'm doing, guys?
Yes.
All right, I'm going to bring in my paper trimmer. Okay, so we're going to bring into our paper trimmer. Again, if you have scissors, you can just cut it with your scissors. I'm just going to use my score line if you want to bring it in. Okay, so let's say you don't want to score first and you just want to cut. Just bring it in through 3 inches. We're going to cut up to that center score line. And then lastly, we're going to create that trim from top to bottom. Okay, you can start at... This guy comes out, okay? And now we're gonna take out this guy. I think I flipped it, but that's okay. 3 inches, and we're gonna take the bottom. As long as you have a gate fold, in other words, you didn't cut out both of the same sides, we're good, okay? So it just depends on which ones you cut out first. Like I should have cut this one and this one out first, but it doesn't matter because my original one opens up the other way. But as long as you have 2 interesting folds, and what's great about that is I get to show you both
The 2 different ways.
Both different ways and how easy it is to adapt. All right, so now that we have those cuts, we basically just cut out the pieces that we scored. We cut them out. Does that make sense, guys? Let me make sure we see that. And you can decide to go whatever size you want. I just like them meeting in the middle where that cut is. So one's 2.5 and one's 3 inches.
Perfect.
Okay, but if you decide you want to do half and half, if you want to do 4 inches and whatever left over, you want them to overlap a little bit, complete creative license. I want it to be so that these meet in the center and both of these sides just peek through. I think that would look so cool.
So kind of you that you're letting them have creative license.
Yeah, you guys always have creative license.
And real quick, Elaine shared on the lighter side, senior skip day is ridiculous. But then somebody said, I'm a senior 65 this year. Does it count as my skip day? It's so funny.
All right, so what we're going to do, guys, is we're going to layer these 2 together. And we're going to add that to our space. You see that? Look how cool that looks, right? Now again, my original one opens up the other way because technically it goes like that, but I flipped the smaller side and the bigger side. But there's no right or wrong reason or wrong way. You just have to, decide where you want your square to go. It'll end up being exactly the same, just opposite. All right, so now I'm going to get printed paper. And we already know that these guys are 2 inches. One is 2.5 and one is by 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to get some of this. I have some line pattern paper. Maybe not going to get very far with my score tool, but I need to cut this. So again, we decided it was 2 inches or so, just a little bit under 2 inches. So we're going to go cut this out at 2 1/8. I'm sorry, 1, and we're going to go 1 3/8. And that should give us a perfect, yep. So 1 is 2.5. So we're going to go down to 2 1/4. Let me get a different one because that one has a little stain. And then the other one's 3 inches. So we're going to go down to 2 3/4. Okay, so the 3 inches. There we go. And the 2.5. There we go. So let's go ahead and adhere those down. Beautiful. Now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and when in doubt,
Pop it out.
pop it out. We're going to pop out our square, but remember, we need to make sure that we're leaving a corner so that we can tuck in that flap. So I'm just adding foam squares to one side, leaving the corner so that it can be tucked in, so that flap can be tucked in. Now, knowing that we need that corner to flap in there, we can kind of see where we want to adhere our square. So we're going to go ahead and add 4 foam squares just here in this corner. We want to make sure it's fastened correctly because, you know, it's going to get played with and, you know, we don't want it to pop out. Maybe just a little bit lower. Don't want it to be perfectly in the center. So now this guy can just tuck into here for that closure. Did you see that? We want to make sure now everything is nice, as flat as possible. And it opens up this way. And when you close it, you just tuck it in behind that vanilla cardstock. Yes?
Yes.
All right, now we're just going to bring in our blooms and our embellishments.
Pretty awesome. Very pretty. Square measurements?
Square measurements, well, I used a die. So the small square is 2 inches, and then I have a border die around that, which is about 2 1/4. 2 1/4 square by 2 inch square. 2 1/4 square by a 2 with a 2 inch square on top. Okay. All right. I'm going to zoom in a little bit, so I'm going to jump on my stool here because I'm going to show you the bow. I want to make sure that for those of you that are new to me and don't know how to make the triple bow, then I'm giving you guys the opportunity to learn it today, okay? So I've got some twine here, and this could be done with any ribbon, okay? So let's just start off here. Let me see, I hope I didn't zoom in too much. I'm gonna give the camera a little bit of time to adjust. All right, so you have some twine. You definitely want to make sure that you have plenty. Maybe I zoomed in too much. Let me zoom out just a little bit. Don't fall, don't fall, sorry. Ooh. Okay. Hopefully that's enough. All right, so we've got some twine. And what you want to do is you want to hold the end of your ribbon or twine with your thumb and your middle finger. These are going to be, you just have to have a secure hold. And you decide how much extra ribbon you want there to be hanging at this point. And you're going to use your index finger as the guide as to how wide you want your bow to be or how small you want your bow to be. Okay, so that's basically your, if you want a very big bow, then you're going to open up your index finger as wide as you can. If you want a smaller bow, then you're just going to bring your index finger a little bit more in. Okay? All right. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a figure eight. But before we do that, so we've got the end of our twine being held by our thumb and our middle finger. We're then going to grab our twine and we're going to take it around our index finger. And we're going to bring it back towards us to then bring it around that middle finger. We're going to create our first figure eight. Okay, so what that means is we're going to come across back to the middle, to the index finger. Now we have two loops on this side. We're going to come back and create a second loop around the middle finger. Now if we wanted to do a double bow, we're done here. Okay, but we're going to go with a triple bow. So we're going to come back again for another figure eight around our index finger and then back again for our middle finger. Okay? Now that we're here, this is the part that tends to get tricky for folks. We have the end of our twine and our ribbon. We're going to pick this up and we're going to go in between our fingers, okay? So we're going to grab the end of that ribbon and we're going to bring it, let me trim this a little bit to be less confusing. Okay, we're going to grab the end of this and we're going to bring it, you know what, let me go. This might help a little bit. We're going to grab the end of this and we're going to bring it in between our fingers, grab the end on the other side, and it's still underneath here, okay guys? And then while it's here, I'm just going to grab that loop before I bring it all the way down, and I'm going to create a knot, nice and tight. Just tighten it, tighten it, tighten it, tighten it, and we've got a triple bow. So the beauty about this is that you can go back and rewatch that video again and again and again and again and again until you become a triple bow expert.
Yes, as somebody said, I don't know because I love a paper and ink, but they said when I show how to do your bow to other people, their mouths fall open. Like,
all right, guys, so we're going to add, again, our foam squares. I'm adding a little bit of liquid glue. And I'm going to first start by adding my bloom to this.
my sis says her bow always turns out wonky. LOL.
Practice, practice, practice.
It's all about practicing that bow. Jenny says she loves that. I'm gonna have to go and try it.
Thanks, guys. I can't wait to see you guys become bow experts. I use it almost in every single project. Just because I think it's subtle enough. It's not like overpowering, which is one of the reasons why I love to use twine. Because, you know, you've spent so much time coloring your images or cutting them out or stamping them perfectly. And then sometimes when you add a bow, it's just like, where it overpowers your design, your coloring, your your flair. I do love ribbon, but I also love to
And if you guys are
showcase.
creating these cards, don't forget to share with them on our social media and post them and tag us so we
Yeah,
can
for
see your
sure. If you
creations.
guys did them already, I know some of you like to work once, it's not live, and I can appreciate that. But if you did do them, then I would love to see them. Just tag us, tag RG Avenue. Most importantly, again, guys, your share is what's the most beneficial to us. And it's very important. So sharing this with your friends, with your creative friends, with your other creative groups really helps us continue to do things like this. I'm going to add my focus on the positive right in the side so that it's a nice little surprise when somebody opens up my card. What do you guys think?
I think it's simply gorgeous. Let's see, Donna. I watched the chat the first time, then go back and make this screen larger to do the projects.
Yeah, and you know what? That's what's great is you guys are learning, you guys are experiencing, you guys are watching. And then after this is done, you guys are going to go back and you guys are going to create to your heart's content, like in your own space, with your own music, with your own all of those things. And it just makes it so perfect. All right, guys. So now we're going to add two of our favorite things to do, or my favorite things to do, is we're going to add some splatter. Did you take my brushes? Where they're not here.
Did I bring them back? I didn't bring them?
I don't see it.
Okay, I'll go get them.
We're going to add some regular dye, black dye ink. So if you have dye ink at home, or if you have black acrylic paint, just water it down. That works just the same. We're going to use that to splatter. I know if you're new to me, then you're definitely not new to splattering, so this might be a little scary. But it really isn't that scary, I hope. I'm going to do one up close, and then I'm going to go ahead and open it up.
Real quick, we have Sheila Lane. She said you were trying to go into our website and you can't find our digital. Just when you go onto our website, go onto shop. And then once you're in shop, just go to events and then you will see the download from there.
Yes, it's under events, and it's going to be free. It's going to say free class. So I added some drops of black dye, and now I'm going to grab Dazzling Pat. Dazzling Pat is my favorite thing. It's named Pat if you're new to us because one of our dear crafters, stampers, an amazing support to us and so much love, passed away early last year. And so we decided to rename this after her because she was always so done up in her makeup and ready for any occasion. And so that's what Dazzling Pat is. It's just a finisher, a sparkly finisher, and it just adds perfect to everything. So I'll bring this up close so you can see.
And as you're finishing that up, we have Love Them All. Thank you so much. Beautiful cards. This is a perfect wrap for cards. The golden stripes on that paper is so yummy. Lisa, my first RG bow done right. Yay.
Do you see the sparklies?
Ooh, it's so pretty.
The sparklies that we had. And I love the finisher on this. Like, this is what makes it just finish. It just finishes the project, right? You're just overwhelmed with how beautiful it is. And I'm actually going to go ahead and sparkle all the cards we just created. So bear with me. I'm going to bring in another sheet here. And I'm going to bring them all in. I'm going to zoom out here in a bit.
And by the way, thanks, Kathy. She's the one, she let me know her name. She's the one that said when she shows your bow, everybody
Oops.
opens her mouth like, wow.
Thanks
So
for sharing
nice.
that, Kathy. All right. So these are the cards that we've created today. We've already inked and splattered the one, but we're going to come back and do these last three.
Thanks,
Just add.
Donna. She says, thank you. Beautiful cards. Thank you for this class.
Thank you for
Lots of love.
joining us, guys. Thank you for being here with us today. Thank you for just sharing some time with us. It's absolutely so valuable to me. And we love and appreciate you for taking the time to just create with me today, to create with us today, and for you guys to spend time with each other. I think that's just as important. And it just gives us so much purpose and so much joy.
And can we get Dazzling Pet online? Yes, you can just go onto our website, rgavenue.com, and it's in our shop. You can just
Yes,
get
Dazzling Pat is available
on our website.
online. So it's almost like it's got a nail polish tip because I typically use the brush portion of that. But it works out amazing.
So pretty.
Especially on dark cardstock, right away it shows up. I'm going to remove this because some of that still has wet ink. And I want to make sure that we don't stain them. All right, guys, what do you think?
Absolutely beautiful, gorgeous. Thanks, Adam. He said he loves Dazzling Pets, one of his favorites. Sheila, I'm gonna have to watch it again and had a hard time finding it.
Oh, well, no worries, guys. Feel free to always jump in. Once we wrap up the live, it's going to be available to you guys to rewatch, replay, rewind, fast forward, all of those things that you need so that your projects can come to life. Thank you guys so much for being with us today. Thank you so much for subscribing to our channel, for liking this, for sharing it with your creative community, with your creative friends, with your creative groups. It means the world to us. It means the world to someone who might need this. You know, you might feel like, oh my gosh, I'm so connected to all these groups and all these things, but someone in your circle might desperately need to belong to something like this. And you'll never know because they're never going to tell you, and they'll never know until they get invited. So just like everything, guys, it's our responsibility to continue to be a light, to continue to be hope, to continue to share hope, to continue to share joy. And thank you so much for giving us this time today. If you loved it, if you enjoyed it, if you want more of it, then let us know. You know, we want to know what's important for you guys. And sometimes life gets so busy for people that, you know, like even our card club subscribers are like, oh, I just let my card club stack up, and, you know, we don't actually make them. But it's just a little bit of your time to come in here and to create 4 cards. But most importantly, to be able to make those to give them to someone who might need it. And you don't know who that is, and you won't know until you actually hand over the card and you get that testimonial from someone that says, thank you. Thank you so much because I needed your card, or your card was really special to me, or the fact that you thought about me was really special to me.
For sure.
So, yeah.
And if you guys do, and you enjoyed this class and loved it, make sure to like it as well.
Yeah, make sure you like this video. Make sure you share this video. Let's inspire the world to make amazing happen. And if you're catching this video days down from when we actually did the live, you can still access the digital download for free on our website for the remainder of 2020. We're going to just leave this digital download up on the site, and you just go to shop under events. There's Bloom Anyway event. It was a special class created today for what's happening in the world. Everybody's staying home. We want them to stay home. We want them to stay healthy, and we want them to continue to make amazing happen. Guys, thank you so much for following us on our Facebook channel, on our Instagram, for liking and subscribing to this channel. Be blessed. Have an amazing rest of your week. Don't forget, we have free live tutorials on our Facebook page every Tuesdays and Thursdays. And just connect with all my amazing people, because I'm so fortunate to be a part of their lives and their groups. Thanks again for joining us, and continue to make amazing happen. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Adios.